A good slingshot, drawing on the expert knowledge of generations of boarding school students. And combined with the stones, there are countless opportunities for making mischief. Miss Mayers seems to have found an opportunity to do nothing. Hello, Miss Mayers.
Hello, Mr.
Constable Zellner. Do you think it's appropriate to go sunbathing in a situation like this?
What situation?
A woman was murdered last night.
If refusing to sunbathe could bring the dead back to life, I'd go back to my cabin immediately.
Did you hear or see anything suspicious last night?
No, I didn't feel very well last night. I went to bed early.
So, you're feeling better this morning?
Thanks for asking.
I'm sure your parents are truly sorry that they can't be with you at this difficult time.
Maybe, but I'm not a little girl anymore. And thinking about my fiancé keeps me going.
You're engaged?
Yes. My boyfriend and I got engaged right before the trip. I want to surprise my parents, especially my dad.
I'm sure he'll be very surprised. But what will you do if your father doesn't agree to the engagement?
What choice does he have when he put me on this boat full of thieves and murderers in the first place?
Charming. Enjoy.
If you're trying to make me feel guilty, Constable, it's not working.
Captain DeConti seems old and tired. The price you pay for a life like his, I suppose.
Mr. Kreutzer, come on, you have to give me a bit more. You're the only one who was on the train and who has no alibi for last night.
As I said, I was in my cabin.
Are you sure that it was your cabin and not the Baroness's?
Legrand will question the guests, one after another. But if he doesn't get the answers that he wants to hear, it could become unpleasant for them. Lady Westmacott, may I bother you for a moment?
By all means, Mr. Zellner.
Did Miss Miller cope with all the excitement?
I think so. But what happened on the train was quite a shock for her. She wouldn't be able to go on if something happened to Matthew.
She's worried about him.
He's all she has. It breaks her heart that he lives at a boarding school and can't always be with her. But she sets her wishes and needs aside so that he can get a good education. That's her way.
Where is Matthew's father?
Gone. Run off. Ran away from his problems again. He drank a lot. More and more after each setback. It's better for both of them this way.
He left her.
She couldn't have borne it. She loved him and wanted to stick by him. She fell out with her family over him. They couldn't understand her. And when he left her, the ground opened up beneath her feet. For 2 weeks, she was as good as dead. If she didn't have Matthew, she'd be dead.
You seem to know a lot about it. I mean, about the time before Miss Miller began working for you.
I have my reasons.
And Matthew, do you care as deeply about the children of your other employees?
If you fail with your own child, you hope to do better with others, Constable.
And the idea to send Matt to a boarding school
was mine. Matthew idolized his father and blamed his mother for the fact that he wasn't around anymore. I was afraid the situation would escalate if he had to live on a country estate alone with his mother and some old people. I think I was right. He quickly made friends at boarding school. He's popular, well-liked, a real athlete according to his teachers, and his relationship with his mother has improved as well. He's headed in the right direction.
Miss Miller told me that you have a valuable manuscript with you.
That is correct.
An unpublished Part 2 novel. The manuscript must be worth a fortune.
Oh, it's not just any Part 2 novel. I wrote it 20 years ago, but it will only be published after my death. It's Part 2's last case. Maurice Part 2 dies.
You're going to kill him off?
I already have. And I enjoyed it.
Madam.
I was so sick of writing one Part 2 novel after another. I was keen to stick a knife in his guts. And so, 20 years ago, I did, of course. I didn't want to disappoint my fans, so I let him solve case after case. But at least I was certain that he'd never escape me, that in the end, I would get him.
I understand. Let's just hope that this novel remains unpublished for many more years. How is the questioning going?
Are you implying that I'm an eavesdropper? The inspector is placing a lot of pressure on our dear Mr. Kreutzer. He's the only one who was on the train and who doesn't have an alibi for last night.
Perhaps. But him? A murderer?
I know people like him. He doesn't have enough backbone to kill someone in cold blood and remain so calm. He'd turn it into a drama and then a farce. Drink himself insensible, and then, railing at fate, pitch himself into the sea. Forget him. Legrand is wasting his time. Mr. Kreutzer just happens to be a perfect fit for the inspector's image of the Raven.
Athletic, cultured, moves among the rich and famous.
I'll eat his violin if he's the Raven or the murderer.
I have to be going, Lady Westmacott.
Please keep me informed, Constable Zellner.
Of course. Whatever Constable Oliver wants, he's getting ham and eggs. And just a pinch of salt for our friendly constable. Good. Constable Oliver.
Huh?
Ham and eggs, piping hot.
Oh, I shouldn't really.
I don't see anyone here who'd rebuke you. It was a hard night.
Yeah, true. Oh, delicious. Just enough salt. Oh, that was good of you. Cheers.
You don't expect me to wash your dirty dishes as well, do you?
Oh, of course not, Your Majesty. Oh, that was a proper meal and no mistake.
Constable Oliver is drinking the water he brought along. Without it, he'd get very thirsty. Constable Oliver is drinking the water he brought along. The little stones make perfect ammunition for the slingshot. Now I just need a suitable target. All right.
Ow! 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 Ah! Hey, Zelda, what in blazes was that?
What?
Something hit me!
You mean someone shot at you?
Yes, well, no. I don't know. Didn't you notice anything?
I was riveted by the fantastic view. We Swiss aren't used to seeing the horizon like this.
And my bottle's broken too. Oh, I don't believe this. Could you bring me something to drink? Those ham and eggs were pretty salty.
I'm sorry. I have to proceed with my investigations. Goodbye. Let's see how long he can resist his thirst. Not long at all. Nervous? I would be too in your position. Who are you?
My name is Adil. And you are...
Constable Zellner. Why did you sneak onto the ship, Adil?
I wanted to go back home.
You're Egyptian?
There's no work for me in Italy. I want to see my family again.
And since you don't have money, you stowed away.
So what if I did?
So, it was you who knocked me out.
Me? Never.
No? Where were you when I was attacked?
Well, I couldn't take anything with me on this trip, so I snuck into the kitchen and took some canned goods.
Interesting. And how do you know when I was attacked?
Well, I thought it was yesterday, shortly before we set sail.
I take this bump personally. What were you searching for on deck last night?
I was hiding the whole evening. I wanted to go out and get some fresh air, see the stars. But then suddenly, they were looking for me.
Were you in one of the cabins?
No!
Did you see anyone on the deck or on the roof?
No!
And after we arrested you?
The English policeman put me in this cell. Then he left. I've been here ever since.
And you didn't notice anything along the way?
No, nothing.
What about the gunshot? Didn't you hear it?
Yes. The English policeman had already arrested me. We heard a bang and looked around.
And then?
Then, the Bobby was in a hurry to get rid of me. He almost pushed me down the stairs and locked me in here. He left, and then a short time later, the alarm went off.
Constable Oliver wasn't with you anymore when the alarm went off?
No. I was scared that the ship would sink with me sitting here like a rat in a trap.
It's hard for me to believe a single word of your story.
Because I'm a foreigner?
Because you seem to have learned our language in the space of a day. Accent-free.
Believe what you want.
Who paid you to distract us?
What?
You went for a walk around the deck and let yourself be seen. Everyone goes off hunting you, and in the meantime, your partner shoots the Baroness in peace.
No, I didn't do anything. I didn't want to distract anyone. I just want to go home.
You're a liar, and a bad one at that.
But sir, I'm telling the truth.
And I'm the Raven. Inspector Legrand will deal with you. He's lying like a cheap rug. But he probably doesn't know anything about the murder. Very disappointing. So I have to keep searching. What interests me most is the shot that was fired here in the cargo hold last night. The young man is lying like a cheap rug. That much is clear. He can't have anything to do with the murder. When we heard the shot, he was in the custody of Constable Oliver, and I hardly think the two of them are working together. He could be responsible for the bump on the back of my head, and maybe he also stole some things from the buffet, but he's no criminal mastermind. What a pity. I expected more from this interrogation. Legrand can try his luck with him. The cargo hold also seems to serve as a changing room for the crew, at least for the ones who don't wear white uniforms. A stroke of luck. The lock is open. Oil-stained overalls. And here, an old toolbox. It's been through a lot. Hardly any paint, dented, and the lid is held shut by a wire. I'll take it with me. Some wrenches, a bit of wire wool, an oily cloth, and here, a screwdriver. I've got this screwdriver. That's all I need. Whoever fired the shot hit the crate. Did the shooter just want to intimidate me? Or maybe he needed the bullet. Can't see anything. If the bullet is still stuck in the wood, it's too deep to reach with my fingers. Well, I think the bullet is still in the wood. I'm not a weapons specialist, but at first sight I'd say that this bullet looks exactly the same as the one Dr. Gebhardt gave me for Legrand. That would mean that the murderer also fired a shot here in the cargo hold before the murder. But why? Did they just want to make sure the old guns still worked? Or was it something else? And did the bullet really come from the same gun? I can only check that in Legrand's cabin.
That takes the biscuit.
I noticed that the door was unguarded. I just wanted to make sure that everything was all right.
Tell it to Legrand. He's expressly forbidden anyone to speak to the witness before he does.
All right, let's go to Legrand and tell him what happened. You fell asleep and then you left the door unguarded. Well, are we going?
No, but don't try it again.
Of course not. I'll let him play. Matt.
What?
Here's your slingshot back.
Really? Thanks.
You're welcome, but... You should put Constable Oliver on the list of people who'd better not see it.
I understand. Don't worry, I'll be careful.
Good man. Maybe Miss Miller has found something of a soulmate in the archaeologist. Unfortunately, there's no guarantee that the two of them will end up together. People with low self-esteem tend to sabotage their own happiness. Miss Miller?
Yes, Constable?
I wanted to ask you something. Lady Westmacott told me that Matt's become a real athlete at his boarding school.
That's true. He's full of energy. His teachers try to calm him down with sports. He's very talented and learns new games very quickly.
I regret to say that was never one of my strong points. It must be good for his self-confidence.
It certainly is. He's settled down and he's become something of a leader in his class. A year ago, I'd have never dared to hope that everything would work out so well.
I'll be seeing you, Miss Miller.
Constable?
The bullet resembles the one that the doctor removed from the Baroness's corpse, but I can't be certain until I check it under the microscope in Legrand's cabin. The lock isn't especially secure. I should be able to open it with the wire from the cargo hold. There we go. A Lockmaster and Son. Tough to crack. If I wanted to steal the eye, I'd concentrate on getting the 3 keys. If everything goes according to plan, the first time this monster is opened will be in the museum in Cairo. Fingers crossed. Neatly folded and unused. Legrand hasn't slept since we cast off, nor on the train. Legrand must have taken and developed the photos himself. He even made copies and enlargements. He seems to be prepared for everything, with access to more resources than a normal detective. Another alarm. It was tripped at some point, but there's no way to determine when. Smells like chemicals. Legrand probably developed the photos in here. There are still fragments of the syringe that the inspector broke in the sink. Why is he pushing himself like this? Even if he catches the Raven, is it worth ruining his career and his health? Legrand must have taken them yesterday at the crime scene. Yes, that's how we found her yesterday, I think. I wasn't really myself at the time. No. Nothing suspicious. Yes. The bed, the blood spot. The spot on the sheet is much bigger than the one on the mattress. There's blood on the blanket as well. A lot of blood, I'd say. The blanket and the sheet are gone. I guess they're in the medical center. This photo provides an overview of the crime scene. Shot in her sleep. She didn't feel a thing. She went to sleep and never woke up. A rough diagram of the ship. Legrand marked the Baroness's cabin. Seems like he didn't turn up anything else of note. There's nothing written on the bottle. I suppose it's some sort of stimulant, legal or not. Legrand has been awake for at least 30 hours straight, maybe more. I shudder to think what kind of side effects this stuff might have. A policeman on a murder investigation should have his wits about him. The risk that he could miss evidence or endanger himself and others is too high. Legrand's file on the Raven, centimeters thick but totally useless. We're not dealing with the Raven. Why can't he see that? Our man is ruthless, a bomber, and quite probably a murderer. This file belongs in a museum. It's history. The inspector should concentrate on the present. This is the pipe from the cargo hold. Legrand seems to have inspected it for fingerprints. I can still make out the powder. No. Nothing to see on the end of the pipe that the attacker held. Either he wore gloves or he cleaned the pipe. Aha! That's the bullet the doctor removed from the Baroness's corpse. A masterpiece. Forensic teams use kits like these. They're placing increasing importance on the preservation of evidence. but not in Switzerland yet. It's a small lab used to conduct simple analysis on site. All right, what have we got here? Half of the tools in this box would be interesting for an archaeologist as well. Actually, forensics and archaeology are really quite similar to each other. The goal is to find out what happened, whether a few hours ago or a few centuries ago. Good Lord. Good Lord. Good Lord. A small glass bowl for mixing chemicals. What's this? Oh, how practical. A hermetically sealed cotton swab for collecting samples. I'll take it. A small glass bowl for mixing chemicals. Aha! This is some kind of inventory list. For each chemical, it lists the chemical composition and a short comment on how to use it. And here's a list of the most important procedures. Fingerprints, gunshot residue, blood. I don't have to analyze the pillow and feathers to determine whether there's gunshot residue. I can smell it. And I don't have any other clues at the moment. Fingerprints are overrated. Smart thieves wear gloves, or they make sure that there are too many fingerprints at the crime scene to check them all. I'm sure Legrand could work magic in this alchemist lab. Me, I'm just awestruck. For forensics in the woods or the open country, I suppose. No use on a ship. A microscope. Looks like the one that Lutz Reichinger uses in his pharmacy, just more modern. Okay. All right. That's whoever shot the Baroness also fired the shot in the cargo hold. What could that mean? I always wanted to do that. That should be enough. wasn't there something about blood samples? Fingerprints, gunshot residue, blood. Well, it explains how to confirm that something is blood. That's a start. You have to mix luminol and a hydrogen peroxide solution and then drip or spray the mixture on the blood. The solution turns blue and glows even if there's just a very small amount of blood. Okay then, luminol and hydrogen peroxide. Aha! Luminol. And there's the hydrogen peroxide. I'll mix it with the luminol in the bowl. Okay. I can detect blood with this mixture. The clear solution turns blue if it comes into contact with blood. Okay, I'm filling the pipette and putting it down very carefully. So, let's see what we have here. No blood. Not the slightest reaction. If I didn't make a mistake, and it wasn't that difficult, then the spot on the Baroness's bed isn't really blood. But if it isn't blood, what is it? And more importantly, why didn't Dr. Gebhardt notice anything? He was supposed to have examined everything. I'd say it's time to visit the medical center. It seems impossible that Dr. Gebhardt could have shot the Baroness. He was with me when the gunshot ran out. But he must have noticed that the Baroness was lying in a pool of fake blood. Maybe he's covering for someone. Let's find out. It's probably for emergencies, in case a passenger falls down and can't walk anymore. Possibly due to rough seas, or maybe the captain's well-stocked bar. The sink looks like it's been cleaned recently. I can't say whether it was cleaned to comply with the hygiene regulations, or whether there was another reason. Interesting. A tape on a reel. The reel belongs to a much better player, like the one from the Baroness's cabin. I can't be certain that this is the reel that was missing from the Baroness's cabin, but it seems quite likely. A tape recorder from Sibling. Interesting. The reel in the Baroness's cabin is from the same company. A microphone was plugged into the tape recorder. Maybe Dr. Gebhardt records the results of his examinations and writes them down later. The player is rather basic. Simple, sturdy, practical. I guess the trash bin is in here. Right. Paper towels, plastic packaging, cartons, and... hold on. What's this? A burst rubber glove. It's knotted, and there's a red liquid all over the inside that looks like blood. I bet good money that it's the same fake blood I found in the Baroness's cabin. Dr. Gebhardt will have trouble explaining how rubber gloves full of fake blood got into his trash bin. First, the fake blood he missed in the Baroness's cabin, and now this. It doesn't look good for you, Doctor. That's proof enough for me that the Doctor is involved in this. I should report to Legrand. Okay. Nothing. Strange. There. Very interesting. A shot is audible on the tape, and the reel comes from the Baroness's cabin. It's all coming into focus. Time to pay Legrand a visit. No. No, don't.
Why couldn't you just leave it be? Let me go. Why are you doing this to me? You and the Baroness. Dr. Gebhardt, I don't know. Don't you understand what you are forcing me to do? You don't have to. It is almost over. You won't feel a thing. I am sorry you have to see all this. I should have used more chloroform. Have to distract him. Chloroform? I had it in my bag, just in case. You were supposed to be asleep. I am not a monster, you know? I have nothing against you. Nothing at all. But what can I do? You forced my hand. It's your fault. Yours alone. A pair of scissors. Keep talking. Why? 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 Why did the Baroness have to snoop around? Why did you have to snoop around? And that glove there. You want to plant evidence on me, yeah? I left no evidence. There is no trail. And yet you can't just leave me in peace, can you? Take it easy, Mr. Zellner. You will only hurt yourself. Shall we begin? It's almost over. I will. Are you okay?
Thanks.
A wet towel works miracles. I told you so.
Out with it then. What were you doing down there?
Inspector, at least let the constable recover his breath.
He almost killed himself.
Me? No. Dr. Gebhardt would have taken care of that for me. Where is he?
Gebhardt is vanished without a trace. We're searching the ship from top to bottom.
One at a time. Tell me, Zellner, what did you find out?
Dr. Gebhardt killed Baroness von Trebitz.
Impossible.
Do you have proof?
Besides the fact that he wanted to kill me?
But wasn't the doctor with you when the shot was fired?
The shot that we heard was a recording. The Baroness had a tape recorder and good speakers in her cabin. Good enough to make the noise audible on the upper deck.
Is that just your suspicion, or do you have proof?
There's an audio tape in the medical center. The reel belongs to the tape player in the Baroness's cabin. And there's a sibling reel in her cabin that belongs to the recorder in the medical center. He recorded it in the cargo hold. His tape recorder has a microphone, and I removed a bullet from one of the boxes down there.
And it came from the murder weapon?
All right.
Inspector Legrand!
Let's pretend you're onto something. The shot we heard was just a recording. What happened next?
We all ran to the Baroness's cabin. She lay comatose in a pool of blood. Dr. Gebhardt pushed past you so that you couldn't get too close to the Baroness. He examined her and pronounced her dead. There was no reason for us to doubt him. The shot, the blood, the Baroness lying there lifelessly. But she was only unconscious, knocked out by the chloral hydrate that the doctor had poured into her glass shortly before.
The doctor had a glass in his hand when you came in.
He wanted to remove the evidence, but you gave me the glass instead, Captain DeConti, and unintentionally knocked me out as well.
Nonsense. There was blood everywhere. And the Baroness is certainly dead enough, isn't she?
Then who did shoot her? And when?
As I already said, it was Dr. Gebhardt. He shot the sleeping Baroness in her cabin, barely 10 meters away from us.
What are you saying?
The doctor was alone in the cabin for a while. When the alarm went off, it was deafening. I couldn't even hear myself.
And I found a pillow with burn marks. Could have been used to muffle a gunshot.
And the blood?
The blood wasn't real. Dr. Gebhardt mixed up a liquid that looked like fresh blood to the casual observer, but the liquid remained red instead of becoming darker and browner from exposure to the air. That meant he had to clean the body and get rid of the bedding.
But the blood was already there when we first entered the cabin.
Dr. Gebhardt was in the Baroness's cabin before the murder. He hid a surgical glove full of the red liquid under her sheet. The Baroness, dead tired, fell onto her bed. The glove burst, and the blood spread across the bed. I found the burst glove in the medical center.
But why did he do it? What was his motive?
Inspector?
I can only speculate. The Baroness spent the day rummaging through her old family photos.
No, no, no.
Do you have anything to contribute, Constable?
Confession, sir. Dr. Gebhardt was the Raven. It's all here. He admits to everything.
What does it say?
It says, "Do you still remember, my dear Nico? The streets were wet with rain, and the scent of roasted barley and fermenting yeast wafted over to us from the brewery. A dog barked until your shot struck down the innocent one. After that silence, not a single sound, except for my soft steps fading on the wet cobblestone street. They made a hero of you, and I, at last, found peace. At least until the urge returned. Some of us are not made for retirement, my friend. I thought they would assign this case to you, and that thought pleased me. We'd finally find out who was truly the better man. And it pains me now to have to admit that you and your little gumshoe got the better of me. You drove me into a corner, forced me to make mistakes. I congratulate you on your triumph, but no one will confine the Raven to a cage. There is but one way out, and that is by my own hand. Farewell, Raven Hunter R.
Inspector Legrand.
Inspector?
I was right. I told them all, over and over again. But no one would listen.
You think that Dr. Gebhardt was really the Raven?
The things Gebhardt describes in his letter aren't part of any police report. Only someone who was there would know them.
Couldn't there have been others involved? One of the police, for instance. What if one of them changed sides?
Why is it so hard for you to accept the simple truth? There was never a new Raven. There was only ever the old one. And that was Dr. Gebhardt.
The modus operandi doesn't match. The Raven was not a killer.
Legends are rarely what they seem to be, Constable Zellner.
Then who was the man who was killed back then?
William Jackson, a petty thief, committed some burglaries together with his brother. Talented, but not world-class.
And they thought he was the Raven.
Some people thought it was part of his disguise. If you're a debonair master thief, what better disguise than pretending to be a common crook? From time to time you let them catch you pulling small jobs, and no one ever imagines you're capable of a major heist.
But you didn't believe it.
I had my doubts, but everyone congratulated me, and those doubts were pushed aside. It was like being caught in a storm, but eventually the storm passed and my doubts were still there.
But not this time? No doubts telling you that Gebhardt isn't our man?
It must be him.
What about the handwriting, the wording? Does the farewell letter match the Raven's other letters?
Yes, it's his handwriting, his words. I've read all the Raven's letters, all of them, over and over again.
I never thought it was possible. A resurrected Raven.
The Raven was never dead. I shot the wrong man.
But that man had the stolen goods, didn't he? So he must have been in league with the Raven. One could hardly call him innocent. Where do we go from here?
We deliver the eye and then I'll contact Paris. A task force will compare all of Gebhardt's known residences with the Raven's activity.
And if there are any inconsistencies?
You're welcome to keep an eye on the safe if you can't let it go. The ship will remain in Cairo for one day. That's all the time you'll have to catch your own, Raven. I already have mine.
Ah, you're one of Legrand's men, aren't you?
My name is Anton Jakob Zellner.
You've come just in time. Grace, my dachshund, is missing.
There may be more important matters for me to attend to, Mr.
Director Abbas Mokhtar. And Grace isn't just a common dog. She's a purebred German dachshund, a champion.
So, the exhibition will still open tonight.
But of course, everything has been arranged. The final preparations are almost complete.
But one of the two exhibits won't be there.
A terrible loss, a tragedy. That irreplaceable Egyptian cultural treasure has been stolen for the second time.
The second time?
What? Did you really believe that the Eye of the Sphinx was found lying on the banks of the Thames?
Inspector Legrand, Professor Lucien, and Constable Oliver are overseeing the transportation of the safe. They should be here at any moment. I'll have a look around in the meantime.
Do you think that's necessary? The Raven is dead, after all.
If you mean Dr. Gebhardt, his body was never recovered. Nor the stolen Eye of the Sphinx, for that matter.
It does us a great honor that the Inspector is concerned about us. But we have everything under control.
Legrand isn't as concerned as he should be. But I am. Is the museum closed?
Yes. Only carefully selected guests may enter the museum during preparations for the gala. And of course, you're one of them, Mr. Constable.
What can you tell me about the museum's security system?
One of the best on the market. And the second eye will still be exhibited in our special treasure chamber, which is extra secure.
Treasure chamber?
See for yourself, to the right of the entrance. The eye is as safe as the British Crown jewels.
I think I'll have a look around the museum.
Please do. There's a lot to see. And you let me know if you see Grace, won't you? I hope we find her before the great inspector arrives. Isn't it fantastic how he solved the murder on the ship?
Legrand?
Of course. It's in all the newspapers. The murder of the wealthy Baroness von Trebitz, and how the great Inspector Legrand identified the murderer in just one day. It's the stuff legends are made of. You should count yourself lucky to have the chance to learn from him.
What exactly do the newspapers say?
Everything. It's fantastic. Someone on board must have informed the press immediately. Of course, it's a great advertising for us. The reporters will queue up tonight.
And it was reported that Legrand found the murderer.
Of course! Who else?
Well, I wasn't exactly uninvolved.
Of course. Legrand surely has assistants, but honor to he who deserves to be honored, right?
Well then.
Be seeing you, Constable. Grace! Here, Gracie. My sweetheart. Where are you?
Oh, Mr. Inch.
Mr. Inch. There you are. I am so sorry. Baroness von Trebitz was a good-hearted woman. She did so much for the museum.
As you say, sir.
And you? Are you leaving so soon?
I'd like to go back to my hotel. These last days have been such a strain.
First, you sneak into the museum without greeting me, and then you want to leave just as quickly?
I didn't want to disturb you, and we'll have time enough tonight.
Yes, you simply must come tonight. I wanted to present Baroness von Trebitz with a medal. Now you'll have to accept it.
Of course, if you insist, sir.
The Baroness paid for all this. Without her, there wouldn't have been an exhibition or a gala.
She was very generous.
Yes, she was.
If you'll excuse me now. Constable Zellner, I want to thank you again for all you've done. You saved me, you could say.
My pleasure. See you tonight.